Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to prefix this by saying I'm really sorry that this is my first Saints video since we beat Norwich 3-1. I can only apologise. We lost to Arsenal 2-0 a few games ago, and I was not in a good mood after we got a red card, and I feel like we deserved something out of that game, but we lost it, so I didn't make a video on that. And then last weekend I was busy, and so whilst I could keep in touch with the game, I didn't watch it and felt like my opinions on how the game flowed and my experience wouldn't come across well or transparently on a video, so I decided not to make a video on that. But we did win last week. That was nice. I'm sorry I didn't make a video, but we're back. Today is Sunday, and completely out of the blue, Southampton have managed to get a 1-0 home win against Manchester City, where Che Adams scores the only goal of the game, and I don't think I could ever had predicted that before the match kicked off. I was hoping that Che would start because it just seemed like it would be a fairy tale come true if he had actually managed to score against Man City. And from what Ralph has been saying about him recently and the shift he put in towards the end of the game against Watford last week, I was just hoping if he starts, then he can put in a good shift and then have something to go off of going forward. And I was rewarded for that thinking, and Che was rewarded for his hard work, and Ralph was rewarded for putting him in the starting lineup. But yeah, if you're new around here, I typically do a rundown of my experience watching the Saints games. They typically only is games that we win or put in a very good performance in drawing. I typically don't do losses. I did a while ago, and I felt like it just made me really sad to have to talk about losses. So I think it was the 9-0 that did that for me. I was like, I'm never going to comment on a Saints loss again. So yeah, let's go into it. I don't want to spend too much time. Like I say, I don't want to take up your time. Normally I do these so they come out straight after the game to capitalise on the extra 10 views that would get me as a very small channel with little click power. But as of now, I had stuff to do. I've only been able to make a video right now, so I apologise that it's a little bit late. But Saints win 1-0 at home. Che Adams with a 40-yard strike, and what more can I say? That's really the only things that happened Saints' way in the game. I think the commentators and the punditry teams seem to go very much into the fact that Zinchenko played poorly to give away the ball to Armstrong, but I think that obviously it's a mistake and it's not something you want your player doing, but I feel like Armstrong's pressing hasn't been talked enough about in the creating of that goal, because it was fantastic pressure by Armstrong to win the ball back, pass it to Adams, and I mean, it's an incredible finish, and I know it's the only thing we did in the game, but I mean, if to come away 1-0 winners and that's the only thing, I will fully take that if that's the only thing that properly went our way the entire match. But I mean, what a finish! Everyone's going to be talking about it. All the Saints fans are going to be talking about it because it's Che, and I hope that Che is proud of it because it was a mega finish. Watching it from the back angle, seeing how much it curves to the right around Edison and then comes back in. It's just a beautiful thing to see, and I'm so happy for Che finally getting his goal. Like I say, that was kind of the only major talking point from today's game in terms of how Southampton attacked. I did like how we were playing our normal high pressure. We weren't leaving Man City to just come onto us the whole game, and I know it looks like that towards the end because that's how it ended up, because obviously De Bruyne came on and Foden came on, and they just got more and more and more attacking and pressured. But I saw a few comments from certain not reliable journalists, such as Sport Bible and Lad Bible, saying how Saints' defensive strategy was putting all 11 players on the line, and I think that was really misguided from the first half at least, because we looked quite attacking, and even in parts of the second half we looked like we're still trying to get the ball and play up, even if it is on the counter-attack. We weren't just leaving everyone behind the ball, we were pressing high and trying to get as many tackles in as we can. And I think we're, in terms of lower than the top 6 teams, I think tackle-wise we're actually quite high up in like the statistics. We are a high-press team and we like winning the ball back. Obviously we don't do much with it once we've got it back, but we do like a tackle, and we do put a lot of effort in, and I guess that's why we look so tired towards the end of the game, because even when we don't have the ball, we are trying to slow the opposition down just by running straight at them, and yes, it leaves gaps in behind, but luckily they didn't capitalise on that today. But there weren't really many chances for us. A few come to mind with some little counter-attacks that we didn't really make anything of, but nothing important, like I say. But the one shot that counted, we took, and that's great. So what I typically do is I look at the lineup from the game, and I comment on how everyone's done. Unfortunately, I'm trying to click the lineup for this game, and it's not actually coming up for me, which is a bit annoying, so I'm going to have to go off of memory. I mean, I watched the entire game, so I should probably be able to comment on the lineup and actually remember it. So we have McCarthy in goal, and I genuinely think this was the best performance that McCarthy has ever put in on a Saints shirt. A lot of outlets are putting him as a man of the match in a game, and I feel like he is right up there for me. There were 3 players I picked out for man of the match, and I would say that McCarthy just had a fantastic game. Commanded his area. There was one moment right towards the end of the second half where he flapped it across and it fell to Bernardo Silva, and they nearly scored from it. And I think it was Stevens putting a really good block with his back that it arced just around the post, and that was the only negative that I actually had of McCarthy this game. His distribution looked a bit better. It's never going to be perfect, but at least he didn't make a howler like he did against Arsenal. So I commend McCarthy for his performance today. I'm so glad that he's in the team and not Gunn. It'll be interesting to see the dynamic when I think we're going to sell Gunn and we're going to get Forster back in, seeing how those two compete with each other, and it might come out quite well because Forster's played amazingly for Celtic. We'll have to see. Walker-Peters played at right back. I was very pleased to see him starting because I think I have been a little bit outspoken about Valerie recently, and whilst last season he was our breakthrough young talent, he has not maintained that status in my head recently. I do not think he has a defending bone in his body. He cannot defend. He likes going forward, and he's good on the ball, and he's a good dribbler, and he can put a decent cross in, but defensively he's not there. And when we're playing, he's definitely a wing back, if anything, rather than just a solid right back. And you see that too often. He goes too far up the pitch when he plays. And Walker-Peters has stepped in recently, and whilst he seemed to be like a panic loan when we actually brought him in, he's suddenly one of the best right backs I can remember seeing in a Saints shirt just from this one game, like in recent years anyway. And he's another player I picked out for man of the match. I think he's come in and. Obviously, you're playing against Man City, people are going to get round you, but the times that he had a ball coming over our defence and he was at the back post trying to be the first man, get the ball out, he did some weird little overhead kicks sometimes just to get the ball out of harm's way, and I think he put in a fantastic shift at that back post because most of their crosses came from that right-hand side over to the left. So yeah, I think Walker-Peters did a fantastic job, and people need to talk about him more in this game because he did fantastically. The third player, it's good that these all come in order, isn't it? Is the right-sided centre-back today, Jack Stevens, who is my man of the match. In my opinion, he was the man of the match because he just seemed to be on the end of every single shot or cross. He was just in the way. He was confident when he was playing out from the back, but I don't know what the stats are on how many times the ball hit Stevens' head today, but surely it was so many. He just seemed to be everywhere, and we conceded a lot of headers from small players on Man City's side, like David Silva got a few headers in there, but for the most part though, Stevens did a fantastic job just clearing his lines and using his height to his advantage, and he was fantastic. I can't really put it in words. It seemed to be kind of a silent performance, but I know that commentary teams were picking up on just how he seemed to be everywhere when the ball came into the box and a lot of clearances and that kind of thing. And so he was my choice for man of the match. Obviously, Walker-Peters and McCarthy put in fantastic performances too, but I commend Stevens. I will stop rambling as much now because I've spoken very fast on my 3 top picks. But Bednarek played left centre back, and I think he put in a fantastic performance next to Stevens. And whilst it wasn't quite the same as what Stevens did, Bednarek is still one of the best centre-backs I can remember Saints having recently, and he was my standout centre-back from the start of this season, and he continues to perform well. I am impressed with him. Maybe recently in the last few games there's been like the odd mistake that he has committed, but nothing like that today. He put in a really good shift. Bertrand, again, he's just consistent, he's just always there, and he knows when to slow the game down. And that was really important for us today because there were several times when we needed to take a breather, much like I do right now. I'm kind of talking whilst I know that I need to catch my breath at some point. I need to do a Bertrand and risk getting a yellow card for taking a throw-in really slowly. But I think he put in a silent performance today, Bertrand, but a solid one at left back. He did as much as he could do, and he stayed back, which is nice, because obviously, like I said about Valerie, we don't want wing backs when we're playing a 4-4-2 or 4-2-2-2. Because we'll just leave the wing exposed for Mahrez and for Foden and for De Bruyne to get in behind. Armstrong, who is been a fantastic attacking midfielder for us recently. Armstrong played defensive today, and he put in a pretty good shift. I'll be honest, when he committed that foul in the 96th minute, whatever it was, for De Bruyne, and I was like, De Bruyne is going to score this free kick. I thought that I would berate Armstrong if I did a video, but luckily nothing came from that free kick. But that was the only thing I can remember Armstrong doing wrong today. He seems to have all the energy, and that's happened recently. At the start of the season, I didn't really think Armstrong was that good for us, but recently he's become a very integral part to our sides, so much that when he was injured against Tottenham in the Cup, we missed out on him the next 2 games, and it was instantly noticeable. And I think he's come a long way. I was very impressed with his defending. Like I say, he's a very attacking-minded player, but he just stood his ground, did really well on the right-hand side, and well done to him. Got subbed off for Smallbone. Not that Smallbone had any any interaction with the game whatsoever, because he came on in the 97th minute. Ward-Prowse, he's just doing everything. He was in the box. He always seemed to be picking up the second ball and booting it out. Wherever Stevens got the first header, knocked it down, Ward-Prowse would kick it out of the box, and he was just there being our sweeper and just clearing up things where it got a little bit iffy. And I think he played a fantastic role as our captain today, did really well. Interesting that we don't have Højbjerg, but we do have Romeu back in, and he hasn't had that much game time this season. For the last few seasons, he's been a very consistent, for the most part, performer. There's been a few mistakes that he's caused, and obviously he can be quite a tough tackler. He got a yellow card quite early on today. But I think that Romeu had a pretty standout performance in the Saints shirt, one of the best I can remember seeing of him in the last few years. I think he did fantastically, and he didn't throw himself in too much, and he didn't play risks. He just did the job of a central defensive midfielder really, really well. And as much as I love Højbjerg, and I thought at the start of this season and at the end of last season he was one of our best players, and he was our captain obviously up until recently, I don't think we miss him at the moment. I think that Romeu has come in and is doing a fantastic job in the same role. It allows, because Højbjerg is quite attacking, he's just a powerhouse, I guess. Romeu can sit back a bit more, and it allows Ward-Prowse to go forward, and we have a bit more creativity going forward, and that's nice to see. So Romeu gives us a little bit of flexibility and versatility in the middle, where he will sit back, and Ward-Prowse can just peg it up the field like he does all the time. And Ward-Prowse, speaking of him, actually, there was a really good point in the game that just sums up why he is our captain and why he's such an important player in our side, where he played a pass up the line towards the corner flag, and then just chased it. He chased it like almost, I'd say it was like half of the pitch, I could have just said quarter of a pitch. I know I could have just said quarter of a pitch. And just chased it, kicked it out for a throw-in. But that's the kind of mentality we needed, where we needed to keep the ball up in that half of the pitch, just to slow things down and give us some time. And he was just like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to sprint and boot it out for a throw-in. And that's what we needed today, and that's what we need going forward. So, going back to Ward-Prowse, that was brilliant. Redmond had a quiet game. I was really disappointed earlier on in the game where Adams had a really shocking miss kick of a shot that fell to Redmond, and he tried to hit it first time and it just got stuck under his feet. And if he'd just got that little tap away, I think it might have caught Edison out, because it got hit at Redmond so fast if he managed to get a little bit of contact. But Redmond did well. Obviously, he didn't actually see much of the ball because we were defending the majority of the game. But good to see him get a 90 minutes in, and he looked creative, as creative as he could have done, making a lot of runs, and sat back and defended pretty well too on that left-hand side, which was nice. And then obviously, Danger Man himself, Danny Ings, didn't do anything particularly to Fantasy Premier League managers today. Obviously, that's why people are loving him recently, because he provides an assist or a goal Three goals in the last 3 games before today. Obviously nothing today, but he did what Danny Ings does, and he puts teams under pressure. He's sprinting, just looking for that mistake. And there were a few times today where him and Redmond and Adams looked to have just caught defenders off the ball and almost get in there. And Ings just personifies that work rate that we need in our team, and that's why I think he's the most valuable player we have right now, because even if he doesn't score, or even if he doesn't get an assist, or anything like that, he is there to put defences under pressure and cause mistakes and get us the opportunity to go forward. And obviously the pressure from Ings didn't get us the goal today, but it definitely contributed to slowing their attacks down. And then finally we had Che Adams, who finally gets his first goal out, I think it's 30 Premier League, 29, I can't remember how many games it was. It was a lot to take in, considering we bought him last summer and he was kind of a marquee signing. We were like, this guy has scored 20 odd goals in a championship for Birmingham, he's going to be insane, and he hasn't scored until now, but what a way to do it. I'm so happy for him, so proud of him, and hopefully this can be a pedestal from which he can just go scare everyone. He's big, and he's played really well in the last few games he has played. He's got a few assists, notably the one against Villa, where he played Armstrong in for the open goal, which was just the best assist I think I've ever seen. Well, it's not, but it was pretty good for Che Adams. So yeah, hopefully he puts in another great shift in the next few games. I loved Long so much, but I didn't miss him today. I wanted him to come on because Adams looked like he was shattered come 70 minutes, and Long obviously came on 70 minutes and looked good, did his usual springing up like a lamb, or like, maybe not like a lamb, actually, yeah, kind of like a lamb, kind of like a baby deer, just getting in the way. He's got such a jump on him, just knock the ball down to Ings and we can play on from there, and he's got that pace. Didn't look too good on the ball today, but obviously he's got that in him sometimes. Just he looked dangerous, and again slowed down where they were trying to build up from the back, and that's what Long is important for. So all in all, a fantastic team performance, because we won 1-0 at home against arguably one of the best teams in the world. And I know they didn't field their best squad, but they still fielded a squad that could terrify the majority of teams, and terrified me before the game started. So I think we're all pretty happy to come out of it with a 1-0 win. Anyway, I'm going to shut up because I need to catch my breath at some point. So why don't you guys let me know what you thought of the game down in the comments below. Do you think the Saints played really well, or do you think that Man City weren't good enough? Who was your man of the match? Leave a like if you enjoyed my commentary on this game and how I felt everything went. If you don't, let me know why, and subscribe if you want to see more of these. Like I say, I missed the last few games, but hopefully if Saints keep winning, I will have a bit of motivation to come and do these every match. So I think next we are playing against Everton, if I'm right, and so that will be fun because we lost to them earlier in the season. Hopefully we can do something a bit better since we just beat Man City. But until then, yeah, like I say, like, subscribe, comment on whatever you think, and I'll see you guys very soon. Till then, have a very good week, and ta-ta.